Hi, welcome to What's My Podcast. I'm Jen and I'm a library specialist for Arapahoe Library District. In the last few years, I've gravitated toward podcast listening for knowledge and entertainment. Whenever I have a question about an author, subject, or event, I think, I bet there's a podcast for that. I also love that you can get a lot of information in a short amount of time. I spend a lot of time listening to different content, and I'd love to share some suggestions with you. Today's segment is True Crime, Angels of Death. Listener discretion is advised. An angel of death is defined as a criminal offender who works as a doctor or caregiver and intentionally harms or kills people under their care. My first podcast recommendation is The Opportunist. This podcast tells true stories of regular people who turn sinister simply by being opportunistic. Season 2 of The Opportunist brings us the story of Robert Courtney, a former pharmacist who is currently serving 30 years in federal prison for intentionally diluting 98,000 chemotherapy prescriptions. While the FBI and FDA believed he was essentially a serial killer, federal prosecutors felt a murder charge would be hard to prove since many patients were suffering from late-stage cancer. The Opportunist is produced by Cast Media and hosted by Hannah Smith. Next is Dr. Death. We're at our most vulnerable when we go see our doctors. We trust the person at the other end of that scalpel. We trust the hospital. We want to trust the system. In Season 1 of Dr. Death, you'll hear the story of Christopher Dunch, a neurosurgeon who radiated confidence. Dunch was convicted of gross malpractice after 31 of his patients were left seriously injured following surgery, and 2 patients died from his surgical techniques. Season 2 of Dr. Death brings us the story of hundreds of patients in Michigan, one doctor, and a poisonous secret. In 2013, many cancer patients in Michigan thought Fareed Fatah was the doctor who would give them the best treatment. Between his prestigious education, years of experience, and pleasant bedside manner, Fatah was everything you could want in a doctor, but he was not who he appeared to be. Season 3 focuses on Paolo Macchiarini, a thoracic surgeon and regenerative medicine researcher who became known for research fraud and unethical experiments in synthetic tracheas that led to the death of several patients. Dr. Death is a Wondery podcast and hosted by Lara Beal, who is an award-winning writer in medical journalism. Vile tells the story of Janine Jones, the woman known in Texas as the killer nurse. She is suspected in the deaths of dozens of children under her care while she was a nurse in San Antonio. However, she has only been convicted of one child's death. As Janine became eligible for early release in 2017 from a 99-year prison sentence, investigators worked diligently to ensure she stayed behind bars. Vile was produced by KENS TV in San Antonio, Texas. My last podcast recommendation today is Dirty John. Deborah Newell is a successful interior designer. She meets John Meehan, a handsome man who seems to be perfect. He's everything she's looking for, and just back from a year in Iraq working for Doctors Without Borders. But Deborah's family doesn't like John, and they get entangled in an increasingly complex web of love, deception, forgiveness, denial, and ultimately, survival. Dirty John was produced by Wondery and reported by Christopher Goffard of the LA Times. There are so many podcasts being produced that it can take time to find what you like. I recommend checking out the You Might Also Like list at the end of each show page. You can also search in your podcast app with keywords such as the subject or an author's name. All these podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you like to listen.